Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by the Nyoradzo Group. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Samantha Murozoki, a philanthropist and founding director of KuchengetanaTrust. Enjoy this truly inspirational conversation. Samantha Murozoki, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you for having me over, Trevor. It's a pleasure.
Samantha, so when COVID hit, 2020, some of us were running around trying to see how best we could avoid catching it. And what you were doing was figuring out how you could feed people that had been impacted negatively by COVID. Why were you doing that?
To tell you the truth, Trevor, I don't have a set answer for that. I still ask myself, like, what are you doing, Sam? How did you get here? But long and short story of it is that I was back in a community where I've been part of since I was 14 years old. So it made sense if someone comes to knock at my gate and say, I need help with this, or for me to respond to a child that was crying next door because they hadn't eaten anything the day before. So me reacting by saying, come, let me give you food, or let's cook and let me dish for you, for me was a normal thing that I would expect any person to do for my kids, say, I've died or I'm not around. So that's just how I just got into it, and I thought I'd be dealing with figures like 10 to 15 actually. I did not think we would then hit the thousands in our proceedings. So it's still a shock, and I'm still trying to ease into the wave actually 2 years later.
Talk to me about that shock. How does it manifest itself?
I mean, you go to sleep and you've given 15 people food, and the next day when you wake up trying to cook for those 15, you find out that there's about 200 or 300 people outside, and you're thinking, there's COVID. I've never heard of this disease. It's killing people. What if I get these people killed by crowding at the house? What if I get arrested for doing these things? Because there's protocol that has to be followed. How am I going to feed them? I only have food that's enough for 3 weeks and enough for about 15 to 20 people and my family. So all of these things started at that time, and I'm thinking, how am I going to sustain this project? And how am I going to explain it to my parents? I'm using my mother's house, and like, what have you done, Sam? And speaking from maybe a year later, the strains came in from the shortages of food, the inconsistencies in the donations that come through. Things really became rocky at a certain point in time. And now we're also at a point where we are saying, if I don't wake up to go knock on people's doors or to sell off something, I'm not going to be able to feed the people that I'm dealing with right now. So all of these strains add to the shock, and the shock never wears off because every day there's a rude awakening. Sam, we had 250 kgs last week. My mom is already telling me we need to buy more millimil. We need cooking oil. I've got kids that were not in school on time because I couldn't get enough cash donations. So there are different aspects that we deal with besides feeding people, and it all comes back to this big shockwave at the end of the day.
So shockwave at the end of the day, rude awakening every day. Why do you keep doing it?
I would love to come up with a flowery response and tell you all these nice words, but I do not know why I'm still doing it. But I feel I have a moral obligation to satiate that hope that I ignited to the people. Like I started it. If I tell a child I'm going to give you a cup of water on a daily basis, it is my job to make sure that I do for as long as I live, or for as long as I can make a plan. So I keep going. I keep going at it. I think the African aspect in my home, I come from a traditional family where we believe that if we can help our neighbor or a cousin, we should do it at the expense of luxuries or a basic life. So for me, it's not really a shocker. The numbers are the ones that shock me, but the act itself is not a shocker because From an early age, I've witnessed my mom and my dad and my aunties do the same.
But here's the thing. So what you're doing is absolutely beautiful, stunning, inspirational. But there's 16 million of us in this country and more in the region, 75 million in the region plus. And that was not our natural reaction when COVID happened. When COVID happened, the majority of us looked at taking care of ourselves, taking care of our companies, taking care of our staff. But you extended yourself, and that's what I'm trying to understand, that when everybody else is running away to hide and take care of themselves, you are extending yourself. You're actually running out and saying, how can I help? I'm trying to find out where that comes from.
I think I'd still pin it back to upbringing and our background. And also, you need to have a natural inclination to wanting to help, the humanitarian aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I'm the kind of person, even in high school, I remember I almost got a belting from my mom when she gave me my school fees. It was cash. She put it in a pulling socks and tied it around me. I went to school. I was Kwenda Mission.
Yeah.
And instead of going to pay my fees in full, my friend hadn't paid fees for about 2 terms. So then I was like, okay, so I can just tell my mom that part of the money got lost. Then I'll give you money and then we sort it. Everything else we'll deal with. So that's what we did. Split, I gave her the fees, and then I went to pay half the fees. So now consultation day comes, my mom is back. She used to work in the army. So she actually came clad in a uniform because she was coming from some trip. She gets there and they tell her Samantha hasn't paid fees in full. And I've never seen my mom so mad. And she was just like, no, I'll talk to her when she comes back home. And when I came back home, I got a thorough talk. But my mom, whilst she was screaming at me, said to me, when you gain capacity to do these acts of kindness, I will gladly support you. But not on the tight budget that I have. I'm a single mom and I'm trying to raise you the right way. And here you are. If you're on holidays, it's either you're dishing out groceries to people or you're giving people your school fees. So I can't keep up with this, Sam. So yeah, we had our run-ins, but it wasn't a good thing. Now she pats me on the back. But I think that's where it came from. I think it's naturally I've always wanted to fix problems, even if they're bigger than me. So I'll try up until the point where I say, oh, I can't do this anymore. But I will have tried at least, because in my head, I'm always worried about me or my children, to say, if I cannot get Sadza today, can Trevor be able to say, Sam, come, do we see a spoon in your lunchbox? Or Sam, let me give you $20 and Cairo can go to school. So everything I do is not necessarily to get it back, but I know that life is like a will. We do not know. It's full of unexpected eventualities. So one kind act be a million acts tomorrow for me, possibly.
I like what your mother says. Sam, when you get capacity, I'll be able to help you. Which I think is is the normal way of thinking, isn't it? You help yourself first before you help others. But clearly, you've never waited for yourself to get capacity. You've just been helping ever since.
Yeah, and the amazing thing that I've noted is that the community is actually willing to chip in to help this drive go on. I lack capacity. Hell, I don't even have a bank balance that I can boast about and say, oh, look, I've got millions and I'm helping people. It's your neighbor or that person who has compassion, who reads an article or who's going to watch in conversation with Trevor, that sits and says, look, I can spare $100 and give this organization to do wonders with it. And we take that $100 where it normally feeds maybe 10 people, it'll spread to 50 people. And already, so I think the lack of capacity has always been a drawback for many people. They say, oh, I can't start this, I can't do this because I don't have money. But sometimes we just need to use the will and the love as an input. And I know along the way, someone will believe in what you're doing, because honestly, why would I continue doing something like feeding people when I don't have money? Yet I know in actual fact that we have communities that can chip in and bridge the gap between the poor and the rich and draw it a little bit closer. This is exactly what has been happening with the trust, but on a small scale, obviously. Yeah.
The will and the love. Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. Use the will and the love to do what you can. to help others. In the process, you tell me, where do you get your reward from?
Growing up, my grandmother, my dad's grandmother actually, used to tell us, she would say, everything that you do is recorded in the book by God, by our ancestors, by angels, and the universe. That was how she said it in the vernacular. And you might not get your reward today. You might actually get negative elements coming your way whilst you're doing good. But I know for a fact, 4 or 5 years down the line, or even 20 years, I will get my big reward. It could be in the form of good health. It could be breakthrough in a personal endeavor that I have. It could be my kids excelling and being offered an opportunity because your mom was part of a movement whilst there was COVID. So for me, very fairy tale like, but I actually believe in that. I believe the universe always rewards you one way or the other.
It is a blessing to be a blessing to others, isn't it? Yeah, I do believe in that. And you talk about negative things happening to you whilst you are helping. You caught COVID twice whilst you were helping. Talk to me about that experience.
Yes, so the first time I caught COVID, I was so unaware and I was busy. I think I was coming from Shamva to source some maize grain. So when I got home, I'm talking to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know if my throat is feeling right. I'm just feeling weak. My mom is like, maybe it's the asthma. I'm like, okay, let me just go and get tested. So I went to get tested. I tell you, Trevor, from the time I got my results, let's say 2 hours later, my health deteriorated so fast. I couldn't breathe, I could not eat.
So from the moment you knew you were positive,
everything became negative. Yes. And I got so sick, I started writing up little documents to say if I'm gone, take care of my kids, and then the trust, I need the board to appoint a person that will take my role immediately so that everything is on track, and I do not want the trust to die with me. So I got sick, but I got help. Now the community was wonderful because the news then was put on our platform on Twitter, and many people came through offering medication, offering to visit, to bring fruit, and just general support to say, Sam, hold on, you'll be okay. So I did get better. And then I struggled with the long COVID, obviously, the symptoms. So,
what were the symptoms of long COVID like?
yes, the headache, fatigue, struggles to breathe, and generally I'm a bubbly person, but from the first COVID that I got, I prefer to be alone. My curtains shut, lights off.
Wow.
That's where.
Is that where you are now?
That's where I like to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big change in your personality.
Very huge change. And at any chance that I can get, I will shy away and be alone and
but that's not
love
who
it.
you used to be.
That's not who I am, and that's not who I want to be, but that's where I am. Yeah.
And then you contracted COVID for the second time again. What was the gap between the first infection and the second?
Oh, I didn't check it. Maybe it's maybe 8 months or so.
8 months.
Yeah.
How was the second infection like?
Right. So we're reading in the papers, Omicron is milder. Everything is gonna be fine. You can handle it. I was like, oh, okay, that's good news. Then bam, I get sick. So my joints really ached, and it was like I can't even describe the pain. The joints were bad, and the headache, but mainly the muscle ache. So I went to get tested again, and then I tested positive, and I was just like, just my luck. But I tell you, comparing the first time I got COVID and the second time was a roller coaster, because in my head I'm thinking this is supposed to be a mild strain, so I'm supposed to be okay. But I was down for a good 3 weeks. Yes, I was down for a good 3 weeks. My main symptom was the struggle to breathe and the terrible cough. So you get congested, you're coughing, and you can't breathe through your nose. You got a headache, and it was just one of those. But then 3 weeks later, I was back on my feet.
So you saying to us that you went to a dark space where you started almost writing a will because you thought you were gone. what thoughts went through your mind apart from, let me do a will, who's going to succeed me as far as the foundation is concerned? Did you say to yourself, were you saying to yourself, was I careless? Should I not have done this? What thoughts went through your mind?
Yes. The first that came to mind was my children. And I'm thinking my kids are 12 and 6. What will happen to them now that I'm going? Had I not been out and about trying to meet with this person B, C, I would have been safe. And I would have not exposed my children to possibly losing a parent and having no one to back them up. Because you think of a lot of things. And I really beat myself up. And because you're trying to think, where did I get it? Where did I go wrong? I always have my mask. I move around with liters of sanitizer. I avoid places that have crowds. And like, where am I going wrong? Because the second time around, I changed from being the very social person that I was before the first one struck. So already I was a person that shies away from crowds, from people. I only go to work and I only appear when necessary. So where did I get COVID? And it really got to me. But
there's a lot of the psychological burden, isn't it, that you grapple with when you get COVID, from what you've shared right now, and you are in a negative tailspin of some sort. That's what's happening, hey?
Yeah, that's true. And I think I lost I was involved as a victim rather of an armed robbery sometime last year, September, thereabout, and I was pregnant. So it was around 8, and I'm coming through Mkhuwisi Woodlands in my car's battery seizes, and I had to get out trying to fix the terminal, and boom, these 2 guys come with guns. And I say to myself, because whilst they were robbing me, most of the stuff they were saying I actually don't even remember, because I was thinking, if I'm going to die.
What time was this?
It was around 8 p.m. And I'm thinking, I'm being robbed. But God, honestly, I'm coming from work. I've just picked up other donations, and tomorrow I'm going back again. I'm feeding thousands of people, and I'm trying to make the world a better place in my capacity.
Is this my paycheck?
And you let people do this to me. Like, what am I supposed to do? How can you let them? If you let them kill me, I'll really be hurt. This is what I'm thinking. So then,
sorry, I'm laughing, but the way you're saying it.
It was crazy. So,
and you're talking to God.
I'm talking to God, and it's like a monologue. And so they ransacked the car. Luckily, they took laptops, they took donations, they took my phones, and then they left. So they left me like that, and I get into, the doctor says it was an anxiety attack. I thought it was an asthmatic attack. And I land up in hospital. Then I go, some few weeks later, I developed high blood pressure, because I did have issues of hypertension here and there, but this time it was quite bad. And then I lost my baby. So I'm sitting there and I'm asking myself, is this the story? Is this how it's supposed to be? Like, I have all these struggles so that one day I sit and I say, I went through this, I almost lost my life, but now I've actually lost a whole baby, and we can't revive that. He can't come back. He's gone, and I'm never going to hold him again. So yes, I was sulking for some months, and I wasn't happy, but I still continued with work. But my mom, I think, handled 3/4 of the work, because I was in a bubble. And like you were saying, it did add on to the psychological part of it, in that you almost lose your mind. You almost become an angry person, and you almost become...
Almost.
Yeah, almost, because it didn't get me. It didn't get the entire part of me. I'm still passionate about helping, about feeding. I even want to go bigger, on a bigger scale.
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp. With life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services. Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
So when you started, you were doing, at the peak, you were doing over 2,000 meals.
Correct.
Just talk to us about how your day looked like. You started, you're feeding people. What are you giving them, and where are you getting what you're giving?
Okay. So when we're still feeding, because the highest we've served was 4,500
Wow.
in a day. So what we would do, I had a team of 22 volunteers. We would start our day at 4 a.m. We'd put the fire. And then we would have 6 by 65 liter pots ready for cooking our porridge. So we make sure that by 7 we're ready to serve porridge with peanut butter. Mm-hmm. That's what we serve always for porridge. And then as soon as we finish serving, because the numbers were quite high those days, we would finish at around 9 to 10. And then already other pots are being cleaned and we're starting to cook for supper. So we would have 6 pots of soya chunks or sugar beans or cabbage, whatever that would have, like low-cost relish. And then when we finish cooking them, then we start putting our pots of sadza, the same 6 by 65 liter pots. We clean them and we start cooking. And then the first pots of sadza that are ready to serve, we start serving. We'll start serving at 2 o'clock. And would serve up until 5 or 6. Then we altered the time because we needed to rest between porridge and lunch. So we started serving supper at 4 and would finish at 7 and close the gates. But as each lockdown was announced, the numbers then would reduce because people had figured ways to go out there and source monies for themselves to cater for themselves.
The worst must have been the first lockdown, isn't it?
Yes,
where everything
that is
just
when we
came
hit the
to a
peak of
standstill.
numbers. Yeah. So people didn't know how to adjust because we're dealing with a community of informal traders, unemployed people, or people that rely on.
And sorry, this is in Seke, hey? What place is
Sekechitungwiza,
yeah?
Unit A extension.
Okay.
Yeah. So these people either rely on a relative or a parent that's in South Africa or Botswana or wherever in the world. And the ones that are in Zimbabwe are informal traders. So when they say that there would be no economic activity until we figure out how to contain this contagion, people were stuck. Because you go out and you make your $5 a day. You buy food, it will last you 2 days, 3 days at most. And you need to go back out there. So now people, day 4, day 5 were already struggling. And they didn't know how they were going to cover this. They needed food, they needed...
And you filled the gap?
Yeah, I tried to fill the gap the best way that I could. So the 15 that was served were from my immediate community in Unit A extension, but people always convene in common ground. They will tell the next person, there's food by that house, there's food. So people were coming from as far as from Dema, Seke Rural, where people coming from Zengeza, walking long distances just to get the food. So it was quite hectic.
Dema, that would be what? How many kilometers is that?
Should be 15.
15 kilometers?
15 or so,
So
yes.
they're walking to come and
They were
be fed
walking
by
to
you.
come, yes.
And how did you start? Was it your mother's money? Was it your money? I mean, how did your man?
It was what I had when I started was grocery. So my dad had gifted me a hamper saying, Sam, there's COVID. I'm worried, how are you going to cope? So he paid someone with a business in Zimbabwe via Western Union, and this guy came and delivered. So this hamper was massive. It had rice, it had sugar beans in it, it had a few packets of soya chunks and stuff. So me being me, I took out the beans and the chunks. I was like, I really don't like this. I'm going to put it on the side, and I'll keep the rice and the cooking oil and the cornflakes and stuff, because it's like 3 weeks. 3 weeks is a good holiday. But that food really went a long way. That's what I started with. Because
It reminds me of you taking your fees money and paying for somebody's fees.
Yes.
Now your dad is giving you food for yourself,
And
you're distributing that food
to
for
share
other
with the people. Yeah.
What a spirit,
Yeah.
Sam.
So the first 2-3 months I was funding it. If food ran out, I would buy because I had a bit of savings. But I remember the 4th month, my dad sent me $400.
Where is your dad?
And he's in Canada.
He's in Canada.
So he bailed me out, and then I bought what I had to buy. And then a few months down the line, my mom was like, Sam, if it's straining you, let go Just let go. Help those that you can. Just give the children. I was like, I can't turn down the grannies and stuff. Then she sent me a huge amount of money, like twice the amount my dad sent me. She was like, I'm just tired of you. Just do your thing. I want my money back. Then we laughed about it. So that really helped me a lot, knowing that my mom and my dad are giving me money and also supporting me in a way, like giving me.
What a beautiful spirit.
Yeah.
What an act of kindness. Yeah. And you're working with volunteers. 100% donations. How many donations? How much of donations are still getting now?
Usually I get donations month end.
Okay.
Last month, the regular donations that we got, in total, $280.
So that goes a long way.
No, that covers maybe 2 or 3 days. It's really gone down. It's really, really gone down.
What were you getting at the peak when you're feeding 4,000 people plus?
Donations in cash or kind would hit maybe 3.5 to 4,000, and that would be enough to pull through the month from the time our numbers dropped to about 800. I could work with that.
What numbers are you feeding at the moment?
Yes, I think safely an average of 750, 800. Numbers fluctuate. It depends with if it's a holiday.
So these are people that are basically battling to put a meal on the table every day?
Yes, even since before COVID-19, yes. These are people that have ongoing cases of poverty. So we are trying, and the group comprises of you're underage, you're 16 and below, and we have those that are physically and mentally challenged, and then we have those that are 60 years and above. These are the groups that I'm catering for, because I could actually have a bigger number, but we had to cut them off because the able-bodied...
So you're turning them away?
We actually had to cut them off because those that of my age group or in their 20s would come and would ask, can you please help us source firewood or plastics? So sometimes we actually cook using plastics and cardboard. So we'd ask them, when you come, can you come with the board or the plastic, or help us cook salsa, because the pots are huge. But they didn't want to do that.
So you decided no.
So we decided that let's focus on the groups that cannot do anything for themselves whilst easing the burden on us. So that's how, yeah.
When did you decide to formally form KuchengetanaTrust? At what period did you say, I think we now need to formalize this initiative?
Okay. So it goes back to the first month, the first 2-3 weeks of operating. Our queues were going a stretch of over 1 kilometer from my mother's house. And obviously people were noting this, and people being uncomfortable, and or others wondering what's going on. So many people when they're saying social distance. So somebody must have gotten me into a little bit of trouble and reported to the municipality of Kuchengetana and Ministry of Health. So they came to shut me down. And I remember them giving me a letter summoning me to come to a hearing. I went there the second day and I spoke to them. I explained my situation, and they were very understanding. Together also with social media and people out there, they also made an uproar to say, no, she's trying to help.
Why were they shutting you down? What was the reason?
They said that I was not operating in within the jurisdiction of Kuchengetana. There are certain bylaws that I need to stick by. I can't just open. They said it was like a restaurant in a residential area, and that I needed to get the proper, for lack of a better word, proper documentation, and even the setup, like having my sanitizing point and the ports, and it was just a whole lot of red tape.
What was your reaction to that?
I cried. I remember.
You know, Samantha, you are being robbed, you're catching COVID, and now somebody's coming to shut you down.
Oh, that came first. The shutting down came first. Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember
you cried.
I got emotional. I was like, people want to eat. Why are you shutting me down? And I remember I was being interviewed by another media house on that day when the letter came. So I cried, and I cried. Yeah. And then I waited. Then tomorrow I'd cool down. We spoke to them, and they were very understanding. They said I could go back and continue with what I was doing on grounds that I initiate getting the trust to, getting my movement to becoming something that's official. So that's how we had to go and register it as a trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't your original intention.
No, it wasn't.
This act of closing you down then compelled you to
became a blessing.
Wow.
Yes, but then we actually went and we formalized, because had they not come down on me like that, I would have not formalized it. Probably I would have been out of the picture by now, because I've done my part, so I can go home and sleep now. But because now there's a trust, I'm thinking, how do I just say a trust is closed? How does a trust close? It's supposed to be regenerating positivity for years on end. So yeah.
So something that was meant for evil has
became,
become a blessing.
yeah, it was lovely. Turned out really great.
How many people work for the trust? How many people do you have in the trust?
Now we're a team of 10. We have 5 volunteers if we're counting my mom. And then
Counting your mom.
counting my mom, yes. And then if you count me, it would be 6, and Tendai also. And then we have 3 other volunteers that come in on a structural basis. They're trying to help the trust be more formal, to have structure, to say we have a department for this and that, and yeah, so we can safely say 10 people. The numbers of volunteers dropped drastically because we were failing to give them even an allowance to say thank you for coming through.
Yeah.
You're helping a great deal. So
But,
when the lockdown eased, they were like, Sam, we need to go out there and look for something that gives us some level of sustenance. We can't keep on doing this. I tried to keep them and look for funding. People will come through and promise you flowers and unicorns, and they let you down. So ordinarily
You've been let down
so many times. So many times.
by people coming to promising stuff, but they don't show up.
Yeah, they will come, cameras, and take pictures and videos.
Are these local people?
Yes, very local people.
Wow.
Some prominent even. So
Really?
yeah. So you take pictures and say, "We're gonna come back. We'll be doing this for you. We'll be giving you a huge donation to provide food for the next 6 months." And we have.
Why do you think they do that?
I think naturally, as people, we are inclined to be associated with anything that's good or that has high traffic of views. So I understand they want to be associated. It works for them if they
They're
put
using
on their
you.
platforms. Yeah, they have huge following. So on their platforms, when they put these videos and it's on a humanitarian basis, people are like, oh, he's so cutthroat maybe in business or in that department, and now he's actually stooping so low to help Sam, and actually, you know, and it really works a beautiful story for some people. So
But meanwhile, they've lied to you.
yes, for us, it's more than the publicity. For us, it's like, oh, it's a promise. We note it down. We're happy. And then we follow up, and you see a little bit of unwillingness to communicate, and then I just back down, and then we just move on. Yeah. But to me, it actually it drives me crazy, but it encourages me to persevere, to gain sustenance, to say, I don't need to keep knocking or relying on these promises. I need to fix it.
Yeah. So you're now helping with rent and school fees. What other things are you doing for this community?
Yes. For the rent and school fees, it's just 19 kids. It's not a very...
It's a big deal.
Yes,
Okay.
not a
But
big
that's still a big
Yeah.
deal. School fees for
Yeah.
19 people,
Yes.
that's a lot.
Yeah, for 19. And these 19 kids are the children that I picked out from the queue. These are the children that were always coming to the trust since day one, up until I decided, let me keep, because some of them were about 3 years at the time, and the big sister maybe will be 12. So we move them and get them a room to stay, and then we pay for it. And life has been going great. So we cover food, they have school fees, electricity, and any problem. Say they get sick or they have any personal needs that a mother is supposed to tend for. It's just like me. It's just like saying Samantha has got 19 children. So whatever a mother is supposed to do for those children, that's what I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
May God continue to bless you, Samantha.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you.
And you've started a piggery project. How is that going?
All right, so we're still building. We're now on the foundation, like we've done the slabbing. So we're going to be taking off from there, going up. So it's on my tribal land, my portion that my dad gave me. So we just decided we'll build there, and also create a fish pond. So it's going to be a pig project that feeds into a fishery. And we've been lucky with this project because there's a gentleman that goes by the Giver. that is going to be standing by our side to move from where we are going up.
Where is this gentleman?
He's anonymous. He operates as anonymous. He's on Twitter.
Okay.
He's called The Giver.
Oh yes, I think
Yeah.
I've seen The Giver. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be exciting. So we'll complete it, but we just want. My hope is that we are able to generate some kind of income for the trust to be able to attend to most of the needs that we have or that we've been struggling with.
Why piggery?
It's the best thing that I could think of. Honestly, I saw a presentation done by a gentleman where he was explaining how if it's done properly, it could generate a good income.
Okay.
So I thought to myself, why not try that? Because if I'm going to attach it to the fishery, I hear that the excrement, if processed properly, is great feed for the fish and they would grow big. And I thought it would be unique as opposed to making maybe soap and dishwashing liquid, which is flooded right now. And everyone is doing it. If I did that at a large scale and now I'm left with all this produce, what would we do with it? So that's just what we felt would be a start.
So there's people, thousands of people watching you right now, and I'm going to ask you, then you could address yourself to the camera in terms of what are your big needs right now to double your impact in the community that you are, to grow your trust into what you dream it to be. What is it that you would want from the people that are watching you right now?
Yeah, so if there's anyone that's sitting out there and listening to us, our biggest goal right now would be to gain full sustenance as a trust. For us to gain this, we need assistance because we were sitting at an expense of about 40 to 45,000 per year if we compact the needs of our recipients. We want to divert to giving them hampers so that they cook and they serve themselves at home, which gives us more time and energy to focus on more on a bigger picture. So I would ask the community if they could chip in with grant allocation or funding, or to be able to assist us to grow bigger by building the structures that we need. We have children that don't have permanent accommodation. If it were possible, whatever, maybe acquire a piece of land where we could then develop a home of some sort for them, whilst also running our projects, and hoping that maybe in the next 1 or 2 years we're able to maybe offer employment, God knows, maybe for maybe 200 people, who knows, depending on the size. Yeah.
We wish you the best. You, in terms of the help that you've got right now, have you received help from locals, Zimbabwean business people? Are you receiving help from overseas? What sort of help?
Yes.
Where is your help coming from?
Yes, our help comes from all over the world, including Zimbabwe. We have locals that will wake up, who will send you as little as 100 RTGS on EcoCash.
It all counts.
It all counts, and those are actually the majority of people that send. They'll send you 100 or maybe 2,000, and then we have those that are consistent who will say, "I will commit $400." And we have people that are overseas, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, Jamaica, we've had donations from, and so South Africa, so all over. I think people have played their part, and hopefully they will continue to play their part.
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp. With life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services, Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
So, supposing there's somebody who's seen your message and they want to help, how do they reach out? A telephone number, a website? How do people reach out to you?
We have our Twitter account, which is our main social media account. It's at SEMALHO. It's Samalo, and it's for KuchengetanaTrust. And if they want to reach us via telephone, they can call us on 078 670 1002. That's the same number that we use also for our EcoCash donations under Samantha Murozoki. And we are situated in Chitungwiza at number 20926, Unit A Extension, Seke Chitungwiza. And for those that are overseas and you want to keep in touch with what we're doing, you can go on our website, which is www.kuchengetanatrust.co.zw. Yes, and then you can get information on emails to get hold of us on that particular platform.
You would expect people to be grateful for what you're doing, but you've come across people who are totally ungrateful and don't appreciate the beauty of what you're doing. You're feeding them, but they're still demanding lots and expecting a lot from you. What does that do to you?
It's quite. It gives you. It's very defeating because you're trying to sort issues in the community that will also benefit them. So you might not be eating at the trust, but your neighbor is. So if your neighbor is fed, your neighbor is not going to think of going to rob the next person or going to solicit for funds in the wrong way or anything. So indirectly, this will help you even though you're not coming to get a plate of food. And for those that are coming to get food, behaving out of order also creates a moment where you're like, what am I doing here? Or what am I doing wrong? So we've found a way just to glide past it. I just try to look over it and we just continue with our day. And it goes like that because many people, there's a lot of misconceptions. Any place where many people convene, there are lots of misconceptions because people want to know who is behind this. No one ever believes that the person doing it is really the one that's doing it.
Fascinating how we think, isn't it?
So they need to know who's behind it, or is it political, or is it big players, is it USAID giving her this stuff, and now she wants to act like it's hers. So I've had stand-downs with people telling me that I'm going to report you, I'm going to have this operation closed down, we're reporting you to the donor. Like, why are you reporting?
What would you have done?
Okay, so when I dish, I give 1 scoop, especially when groceries are tight. I give 1 scoop of sadza and I give 1 scoop of relish.
So that you feed more people.
Yes. So it will cater for your physical needs and you'll not die. You'll make it until tomorrow, but it might not fill you. So that's how we serve. So we've had people that were not really happy with that feel that the portions should be more and I'm squeezing them in because I'm taking the millimil and the chunks and the beans somewhere.
That they're going to report to you and
to the owner of the program and stuff. Yeah.
Meanwhile,
so I can't really tell them that it's me. I always tell them that it's fine. Can we talk about it before you report? Or if you do need to report, please let us know. Like, no, we're not telling you, we'll report. So you hear that they've been investigating to find out who is really running the program and they need to
Have you had a run-in with the police, with the authorities, apart from the city council, for instance?
Never.
Okay. So let's understand who Samantha is. Where were you born, Samantha? Where did you go to school? Share with us your formative.
So I was born in Bulawayo. And I went primary school in Bulawayo, Baines Junior. And then because my parents were divorced, my mom was here in Harare and my dad was in Bulawayo. So I was in between the two. And then high school, completed my high school at a school called Kwenda High School or Kwenda Mission. And from there, I went straight to Midland State University in Gweru. I studied my English and communication there because I love literature and I love speaking, and so it made sense for me to go that route. After that, I moved to South Africa. And I had my first child there. And so ordinarily I had to settle that side and make things happen because obviously greener pastures.
You were at the University of Cape Town.
UCT for my
UCT,
law.
yeah.
Yes. So I studied law. It was a wonderful experience. I tell you, the place is diverse ideas, even on a social level. Everything is just on another level. So I gained a lot of experience of the social part of it from UCT because you go to your class, you're studying.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, you're studying your law, but after your classes, you have a social division. Each faculty has a social division, and the one for law and for medicine are off the charts. These people are invested in giving back to the community. So you have your Shauko, you've got your clinic, and then you also have the legal side where you're doing pro bono, you're meeting with the children, you hug kids, you travel, and they give you music in return for the services you've given them. So that's where my love for people on a smaller scale started. I used to buy my groceries at the end of the month, and then I would go to Khayelitsha, I would go to Delft, I would go to Mandela Park, and I had my families that I used to take. I had 17 kids that I used to take care of in South Africa during my stint there, and I loved it. And they would call me Mama, and I was like, come on, guys. Make me cry more. So it was amazing. So my studies in law were a wonderful experience, and also I delved into immigration law because when I started, my first job was with South African Migration, and I tell you, my employer was so open-minded. He always made sure that he would throw me into the deep end because I hadn't even started studying law, but he would throw me there and he'd make me see what it's like. Talk to people. These are people from Zimbabwe. These are people from Tanzania. Talk to them and understand their needs and explain to them the packages or how we're going to handle their application. So already I was in it because I felt that he trusted me so much and he felt I was capable. And I'm also speaking to the foreign community.
Is that with, what is it?
With SA Migration.
Okay,
yes.
so this is the government department.
No, it was a private company that was situated in Home Affairs.
Okay.
Yes. So
okay.
we were, yeah. So it was a wonderful experience. I finished my studies and I then left.
So you are an immigration lawyer?
Yes.
Wow.
Proudly so.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you went and worked for 2014, 2016?
Yes. For another
Tarnwell and Company?
Yes.
Talk to me about that experience.
Yes. So I was the immigration officer also at that place. My job was to lure clients that could afford to get assistance on a private level. We would assist them with applications for South Africa inbound permits and for those that want to relocate to Australia, Canada. That was our job. So I would interest the client with the packages that we have. If they're not well versed on what route to take, then I would suggest, okay, you need to go for this route. Okay, your back balance is quite high. Instead of applying for a work visa, rather apply for a retirement permit because you have capacity and you interest them, you tell them, then from there you can get your permanent residence because already you're coming as a potential investor into the country. So it was a fun job, challenging but very fun. And from there, that's when I was like, I think I've come. My dad convinced me, you start your own thing. And that's how I started my errand company. Mm-hmm. But my errand company,
Run Around
Gang, yes. So it was all things delegation. So if you tell me you want me to go and brush your dog's teeth, I would do it for a fee.
In South Africa?
In South Africa. At the same time, we also cover the immigration aspect of it. So it was anything that you would need done by someone because you can't. I felt that I could do it. But instead of just making it elitist to say it's just in the office, we're doing paperwork for permits and stuff, I added on a few departments or...
Is that still going?
Yeah, it's still going. It actually gives me a little bit of income and stuff.
Here or in South Africa?
In South Africa, no. I haven't registered here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are you not doing it yet?
because I haven't had the time. From the time that I came
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
it was only a year, and then COVID came through.
Okay.
So
But in South Africa, this company is doing very well.
not very well,
Yeah.
because I'm not there. It's doing quite okay considering that I'm not there, and I'm only left with 2 people that work for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why? I mean, with that job, the runaround gang and this business that you started, why did you want to come? Why did you come back home?
The first reason why I came was because my grandmother passed away. So my grandmother's sister passed away. So I had to come back. So when I came back, the funeral took about 3 weeks because we had to wait for repatriation of her body. And in those 3 weeks, I realized that I had been away from home for a very long time. I stayed and I was like, I was telling my colleagues that I'll be back. Give me 2-3 months. Let me just do all things Zimbabwe. And I found myself loving home. I fell in love again because I was single when I left South Africa. And I was like, okay, let me just pause for a bit. I'll go until the year lapsed and COVID came through. And here we are today. I can't even explain why I didn't go back. I've gone maybe for a week or 2 to visit, but I always want to come back home.
The bug is caught. The bug for you to come back
I'm
home.
so happy to be home.
That's
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
That's good. Any plans, big plans to make the trust self-sustaining? KuchengetanaTrust. Any plans to make it self-sustaining?
Yes. Yes, I'm thinking that if we manage to secure grants, we're able to have on board people that think bigger than the heart. So I feel that I'm not capable to be heading all the departments, whether it's fundraising or whether it's the advocacy part or what. I need people that have been trained and that have a background in that field. So if we get grants, it means that we have capacity to bring on board a number of professionals that can help us go beyond the sensationalism that I carry. They will be coming in on a professional level. And also we are trying to package what we have, because now the need really for COVID-19 intervention has really lessened. People are back in the groove. So I was hoping that KuchengetanaTrust would then stand as a prototype to say, we have a model that will pop up, say there's a catastrophe, God forbid, famine, civil unrest, floods, anything, you name it, and people are unable to function as normal as they do in their homes, then our kitchen or our model is what goes, and then we're on the ground and we're covering the food needs whilst the government or other team players then sort out the mess that's there. So we want to package it like that we're not going to be cooking every single day of our lives, but how are we going to be ready on standby if we're not prepared? So the trainings, the setting the pace out there needs to be done, but everything is influenced by funding. You can't do anything beyond what I'm doing without proper funding. Yes.
Wow, what a story, Samantha. Very inspirational story. A beautiful story of the beauty that is in all of us to reach out and help others and be a blessing to others. A story that says it's very rewarding to be selfless, to be a blessing to others. And you're only 37. I mean, I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.
I wish you all the very best. And hopefully the people that have been watching out there will catch the beauty, the love, the will to reach out and help others. So we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
We pray that you get the resources that you require to continue to impact people in the manner that you've been doing. Allow me, Samantha, to tend to our viewers who are all over the world, who follow this show on a weekly basis. Remember, we are a weekly show. We are out on YouTube, 7 a.m. Monday, Central African time. To ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations like this touching story, an inspirational story that I've had with Samantha, please click onto this red button and subscribe. When and if you subscribe, you will receive a notification every time we have one of those quality conversations. We've gone a step further and created podcasts for your listening pleasure. You scroll below this video, you'll find the links to various platforms for podcasts. Click there for your listening pleasure. The team reads all the comments that you make, all the suggestions that you make, so keep them coming. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, cheers to you all.